Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome, everybody, here to the Lakers Lounge podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, Senior Lakers Insider for Clutch Points. And today on the show, today on the show, I am joined by Raj Tapalu, who, like seconds before we went live, Raj, I saw you tweet out your Thiero piece. So I haven't read it yet.
Sure.
And this time I have an actual excuse, right? Like normally when I don't read stuff, it's because I just choose not to. But this time it's like, I haven't read it yet, Raj.
You have an out.
I promise.
Yes, you have an out this time. Yes, I dropped it too. It dropped this morning. I'm just barely sharing it. So
well, you should.
You don't have. So you don't have as much. You don't have as much leeway here, but I'll give you a little bit for sure.
I will. I promise I will get to it. I am excited to get to it. You were very excited to write that up, and based on some of the clips and stuff that you were tweeting out, there's a lot to like there. Maybe we'll talk about that at the end of the show. We'll also talk a little bit about, because I guess on Great Western Forum we talked about Thiero, but you and I haven't talked about him yet on this show, right?
Well, I was thrown live. I drove right back from the beach from talking to Dalton, and I went right on a camera. And I was very honest before we recorded that. I said I have not looked up a single thing about this guy. I'm going fully on our guy Mike at Canyon Driver. Was his analysis, but it was exciting to kind of dive into him. And oh man, what an athlete that dude is! Jumps off the screen. But yeah, we have not spoke about him, Anthony. No, we have not.
All right. Well, we will. I like. All right. To make up for some of the dark and doom and gloom that I'm sure will come up in the run up to that point, we will talk about a dude Thiero. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk also near the end of the show about Jake Laravia and the addition that he might be. Before we get to that, we'll talk about obviously the noise and stuff that has been surrounding my report from, was it yesterday? I think it was yesterday, about what fell through or how things fell through with Dorian Finney-Smith. I don't want to spend a ton of time on it because I don't want to be the story, but in this kind of day and age, when people are keeping score on what reporters get right or wrong, I guess we do have to be a part of the story. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We will talk about the center trade market that the Lakers are apparently active on, according to Dave McMenamin, one of the funniest reports I have ever heard. But we'll talk a little bit about that. Obviously, Deandre Ayton is at the forefront of a lot of your guys' minds as well. So we'll touch on that too. Busy stuff. As we kind of put a wrap on day 2 of free agency, which was not a very fruitful one for the Lakers. Quick reminder, please do hit that subscribe button if you guys are new here. If you guys are watching on Twitter, head on over to youtube.com/@LakersLounge to find the show there, and hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, all of that good stuff. And then if you guys are listening to this in the morning via pod or in pod form, please hit that subscribe button wherever it is that you get your podcasts, preferably on Odyssey, because I am a company man. All right. I'm just going to start by playing this little clip that Harrison found from Zach Lowe's show about Rob Lowe, about the Rob Lowe lookalike. We'll go ahead and play that.
Finney-Smith situation. That's going to be the tell for me for how the Lakers are thinking about things. Because I had heard negotiations were going badly. And I said, like, would he even opt out? Do the Lakers even want to pay him? The answer to that turned out to be no, they didn't want to pay him, and he opted out. And I don't think they ended on very good terms either.
They did not end on very good terms. The negotiations, as I talked about, right? The Finney-Smith opted out, and I don't know. what I'm trying to learn is whether that caught the Lakers by surprise, him opting out in the first place. I can't say one way or another there, but
Mhm.
then he opted out. And what I do think surprised the Lakers was how bountiful his market was. That I do believe took the Lakers by surprise. And as I said the other day, Rob went out there and talked to a couple of teams, a couple other people around the league about Dorian's surgically repaired ankle in an effort to bring his market down to what the Lakers were a little bit more comfortable with. Reports out there now are that the Lakers offered him a 2-year deal in that ballpark of 14 or so $1 million, I would imagine. And Dorian was able to double that deal, right, in terms of years value on it, and is now a Houston Rocket. And uh, look, again, I don't want to spend a ton of time on this. I saw Jovan kind of touched on this a little bit. Trevor had touched on this a little bit. Low, I just played there as well. I wouldn't make this up. And
Sure.
had I made it up, I would be like, there would be grounds for suing me, right? Because that puts into question Rob's abilities at his job and would potentially impact the way that other players see the Lakers, right? So I don't talk about that stuff lightly. I heard about it. It played a role in Dorian Finney-Smith's departure, and I felt like it was part of the story. And here we stand. So it's like, as I said in one of the shows that I did today, yes, I grew up a Laker fan. Yes, I remain a Laker fan. Yes, as Ethan and I talked about in a couple episodes ago, or a few episodes, whenever we talked a few weeks ago, I have a vested interest in the Lakers being good and more popular and those things because my content grows. All of that falls secondarily to my responsibilities as somebody who tries to report stuff. And I've
Sure.
always told you guys that, like, I am going to try to explain to you, or if when you finish watching my show, I want you guys to be able to understand why things are the way that they are. If the Lakers are really good, I want to explain to you why the Lakers are really good. If the Lakers are really bad or there's a negative story out there about them, I would like to be able to explain to you what's going on there. And that's all I was trying to do here. And I unfortunately, some people online, I think, took it a little far in my DMs and in my mentions and stuff like that. I hope y'all are okay, and I hope y'all find God. But like, yeah, that's honestly all I have to say on this. It's like, it's out there, it's been out there. I said it, and hopefully we can all move on.
Yeah. Sometimes Twitter and online is not a real place, so sometimes you have to remember that, and I have to remember that, as well.
Yeah.
Some of the comments and the DMs you get when you put out stuff that people don't want to hear. I think you're trying to be transparent with that. In terms of the information that went out, it's sad in terms of how that happened, how it went down. I just think they offered him a 2-year deal, and obviously the extra information that ended the relationship between those two. I'd be shocked, Anthony, if they were surprised he opted out, right? I would hope that's something that was
I would hope so
within the
too.
air, that he's been here since December, end of December. Hopefully some conversations happened. I was thinking about this too. If the Rockets don't get Kevin Durant, do they give Dorian a 4-year deal? Probably not, right? Or, I think getting KD open up avenues to where they can make a lot of sacrifices for the future. They gave Clint Capella a 3-year deal. That was a guy we were looking at as a guy for the non-taxpayer or the taxpayer mid-level exception. So they were able to really overpay, I feel like, some guys to get things done. And that happened with Dorian as well. I thought 4 years was a little bit an overpay, but that's a very productive player that we all saw. So, the reporting is what it is. And I think a lot of people have also confirmed that reporting today. As you mentioned, Zach Lowe went out and confirmed it as well in terms of the relationship that was destroyed, which is, again, sad. Dorian, I'm sure if I was Dorian's agent, I have Luka Doncic on the Lakers. That's my client's best friend. There is audio out there that my client says I couldn't wait to go back to play with him. And so it's tough. I want to shout out Dorian. Like, that was actually the first player I got to talk to this season. So that was really cool. Yeah, very cool dude. Very open, very transparent. Just seems like a really chill guy. So wish him luck in Houston, and sad that the relationship, I guess, ended the way it did.
Yeah, I went and covered the game when they played in Dallas,
In Dallas.
Luka's first game there, and Dorian's family was there for that game. His little like kids were running around the locker room and stuff. And like, I don't know, I'm always very swayed by watching people parent and watching like people interact with their kids. And he was like so good with his kids that I like found myself, you know, obviously you hear stuff about players, you hear stuff about like their interests, the way that they treat people, all that stuff. But then, you know, I saw him the way that he interacted with his kids, and it's like, man, this is like, all right, this is like a good person, you know, that it's not a matter of like, I guess I root for him by way of being a Laker, but like moving forward, you root for the human being. And when you hear about somebody who you consider like a good human being having that done to him by somebody who he trusted, right, in Rob Pelinka, that kind of sucks, you know, and yeah, it's just all right, you know, it's not all right how Rob handled that, and I hope that like by way of this getting out there that he starts to learn the shit gets back to people, but I also think that like we can just leave it be. It's a thing that happened, and we can all kind of move on. Now, it does suck that Dorian Finney-Smith isn't on the Lakers anymore, and it sucks that the Lakers moved actual assets to go out and get him last year, and now those assets are also further squandered by just letting him walk out the door. It puts greater onus on the Lakers having to sign somebody like Deandre Ayton or somebody else, or fully utilize that non-taxpayer mid-level exception. You know, and make up for that loss of Dorian Finney-Smith. Makes me wonder how Luka's going to feel hearing about his friend being treated this way. Also, that's not ideal. So yeah, it's all these things. It's all these factors. It's this big dumb story that became even bigger and dumber over the last day or so. But my other thing here too is like, again, this is sports, man. Like, I was talking to Jen about this today, and she was like, you know, I can't believe, I don't understand how you deal with the type of shit that you deal with. And I talked to so many other reporters and stuff who eventually at some point in their career basically like stop looking at mentions, stop looking at their notifications, just like leave it alone. And I really don't want to be that guy. I really don't. I want to, like, this is sports. I want to talk sports with other Laker fans. I want to be able to do that. But I also, when I look at my mentions and it's kill yourself, fatty, and you do this, and I hope you're dying. Your family is this and you're that. And it's like, I'm not going to subject myself to that, you know,
Sure.
and those people who are doing that wind up ruining it for everybody, you know? So on that note, let's move on and talk about that center trade market, where my colleague Brett Siegel reported that the Lakers have checked in on Nick Richards and Yves Missi. Yves Missi, right? Is I think how you're supposed to say it?
Missi, yeah,
Yves Missi.
I believe that's right.
They have checked in on him. I will say that, you know, the Missi thing dates back to last year when as I've talked about this before, the Lakers were going to draft either Missi or Tristan da Silva, and then Dalton fell to them, and they obviously took the best player available in their minds. And Nick Richards, I would hope that it would just be as like a break, you know, like basically the role that Jackson Hayes should be playing, right, would be for Nick Richards, I would say, where he's like a backup to the backup. And then Missi, he was pretty dang good last year.
His numbers are insane. If you go look at them if you take out the context that he was in New Orleans, and just understand that there's a basketball being played there,
Yeah.
even Misi's numbers are great. I put him, Anthony, in the Mark Williams boat, right? Kind of very athletic,
Yeah.
jumpy, big, cheap contract. I would say
Yeah.
it makes a lot of sense why they're going after him.
And one of the things that I've talked about Raj a lot is by way of these names, because like one of the things that people get really frustrated with my reporting about. So there's like a few ways to do what I try to do, right? Shams, Woj, they tweet out stuff as it's happening, right? They get notified that a trade is about to happen, all that stuff, and they wait until the thing is done before they report on something. And they try to hit that sweet spot between the thing being done and the team releasing the information themselves, right? And what I kind of try to do is use whatever information I have, and I always say it's incomplete information. I don't have the whole story on these things usually until afterward, right? Like the Brook Lopez thing that I talked about earlier today. That was a story that I got in full after the fact. And it's like, sure would be nice to know this ahead of time, but that's not how it always works. And what I try to do is like paint a picture of what the Lakers are trying to accomplish by way of like the names that they're looking at, right? And one example of this is so far we have heard with their exception money, whether it was the taxpayer mid-level exception or the actual mid-level exception, they have been linked to Clint Capella, Brook Lopez, and Al Horford. And to me, that signals, like if you just look at that trend, that
a
I
lot of
think they've
losses.
used.
that's
What's that?
That's a lot of losses. What it signals. That's what it signals. Just a lot of losing.
Well, yeah. Few whiffs. But like but it also like it means to me that they are trying to bring in one steady veteran to kind of not just be like a productive voice in the locker room, like a Markieff Morris, but also get out there and play occasionally, right? Like the Haslam thing, he was able to be the voice that he was with the Heat because he was there for 40 years. But it's kind of difficult to just specifically bring in a veteran who isn't going to play and then hope that veteran has a positive imprint on or a tangible imprint on the locker room without playing. In this case, Al Horford, Brook Lopez, to I think a slightly lesser degree because Capella isn't quite seen as like a leader in the locker room type. I think they want a practical leader out there, on their roster. And then the next thing that you're hearing or the next trend that I think is worth noting, Mark Williams last year, Ismisi this time, Nick Richards. They were in on they talked to Detroit about Jalen Duren last year. They but the point is, and there's one more that I'm missing. Oh, Kessler, duh. They've been in on those kinds of players who are young, somewhat bouncy, and if they aren't bouncy, they're big and hard to move, and on their rookie scale contracts. So those are the two types of bigs that I think that the Lakers have made a concerted effort to go out and get. And now it's just going to, it remains to be seen whether they're going to succeed in getting either kind of those bigs.
Yeah, it's to me, I'm just surprised, Anthony. We are so like Deandre Ayton has us by the neck. It's just the most insane result of this summer to me. That's not what I expected, especially weeks ago going to their final home game where they locked in 50 wins, right? It's just so insane that we are at this place where all the centers are off the market. All eggs are in the Ayton basket. Al Horford, which I'd rather have Al Horford, than a lot of these bigs. He just turned 39, so he's under the 40-year-old, threshold there. But they kind of showed their cards with the Mark Williams deal in terms of, to your point, the way that you reported, and they put a name behind that, right? They went after Mark Williams, and I think that kind of showed you what they're looking for at that position, a center to build with Luka rather than just go get a center that's already making the $20+ million range. I think they want someone that's young, that can have a year maybe to show that they belong and then pay him. I think that's the kind of route that they would prefer. I think that's why Kessler is on that list as well, who has to get paid pretty soon here too. But yeah, I think for next season though, that's where it's so tricky to me. The Rich Paul quotes that came out in terms of the Lakers are pushing, or not Rich Paul, excuse me, Dave McMenamin article that came out and said, they're pushing for 2027, which aligns with the Rich Paul quotes of LeBron coming out saying the Lakers are aligning for the future. A lot of F words, like a lot of futures in there, and
other F words too.
Yeah, I'm sure.
When I was reading it,
that's very fair. I'm sure LeBron also. LeBron and Rich Paul probably. We're not. They were not saying fine for sure. But yeah, so I'm interested to see what they do. But it's so weird to be on like this pins and needles for Deandre Ayton, like a player with no and to be clear, I think he's the best option. Wrote about him. I think that guy is the most talented big on the market. The story's coming out how I think Harrison posted he loves video games more. He was like really excited to play his video game over a huge game that was coming up or the stuff coming out of Portland. But yeah, that's where my mind's been, Anthony, in terms of the free agent center market. And we've just stopped everything else, I guess. Like we can't have no minimum signings, 0 trades, have not upgraded from the wing position. No point of attack defender has brought in other than Thiero, which I am very excited about. But I'm shocked that we are just sitting here waiting. Jake Laravia, we did sign, and I'm excited for him as well. But yeah, I'm just shocked that we're here waiting on Deandre Ayton, who literally had 0 like. I don't think people understand when a buyout occurs, it's because a team could get nothing for him. Like they absolutely. I'm not on the phone calls, but I'm assuming it went something like. No. All right. Well,
no. Okay. Well, no, because like in a very like oversimplified way, you're right. The thing is, Portland didn't want to take in long-term money for him, so like all of the money that they wanted to get for, and by the way, he was slated to make like $30 million bucks.
Yeah.
And if you're sending out $30 million and some team has $30 million of expiring salary, they aren't going to want to use it on Deandre Ayton without getting something in return, and so the Blazers basically made the decision. We don't want to take back long-term money, and we don't want to have to give up anything to get off the final year of this guy's contract. So let's just eat this. And by the way, this is what happens in the NFL all the time, where a lot of teams, they could trade something for, you'll have like good players get waived often and cut in the NFL. And it's because they check out the trade market, and all of these teams that know, well, if we just wait like 15 minutes, you're going to cut this guy. So we can completely put you over a barrel if you want and get a trade done, or you could just cut the guy. And eventually teams make the decision, okay, we'll just cut him. And I think that's where the NBA is heading.
And I want to be clear. I think getting Ayton for technically free, obviously you still have to pay him whatever the $8 million that we have.
And it costs you Dorian. Like you.
Yes, that opened up. Dorian opened up this plus the biannual exception as well, which I think is about 4 point something. So hopefully those two add up to whatever you hopefully lost from Dorian. But getting Ayton for free is an absolute gift. I mean, I was thinking about this today, Anthony. What if Ayton wasn't available? Like he was just on Portland. The Lakers would have had to give $35 million in salary to get him. We're in a dark place. I mean, that takes another center off the market. That leaves you really with Nick Claxton, and I have doubts that the Lakers want to, move salary and assets this summer in any deal, let alone to go get a center that's already paid. But yeah, DeAndre Ayton, a lot of our season next year hinges on the Lakers being able to get DeAndre Ayton, because that allows you to go get the wing with the assets you have. It just gets you in a much cleaner road than if Ayton goes and chooses Indiana or Milwaukee or whatever teams are kind of, he's mulling over on his decision. He also has to take a pay cut to come here, makes it even trickier. Pay cut is assuming that the other teams would offer him the full MLE or more than Lakers. That's an assumption that I'm making. But yeah, a lot of this hinges on Lakers getting DeAndre Ayton, whose numbers still look incredible from last season. Now, everyone will be like, there's context around that. There's, the eye test doesn't really match, what I think is all fair. You're betting on the talent for one season, and hopefully that works. But the Lakers are in a tough spot. I thought this would be done. I thought we would have contingency plans in place, set up to have this center thing worked out. Day one, 3 o'clock.
Yeah.
It was 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock free agency, and to be sitting here at 7:24 on day 2 with no center,
hoping for DeAndre Ayton. Here's a text that I got from Matt Moore, obviously everybody's favorite guest on this show. He texted me, if the Pacers were to grab Ayton, how fucked are the Lakers? And my response was, if you're asking that question, kind of already screwed. Like if your season rests on the lazy shoulders of DeAndre Ayton, then that's kind of the story, right? And look, they might get him, and maybe he gets his shit together, and he recognizes the fact that if he doesn't get his shit together for the Lakers, with LeBron potentially, with Luka probably for sure, then your career, you're looking at veteran minimum contracts for a little bit, and then the Guangdong Tigers in China eventually. Like these careers, Raj, in this CBA, they're going to go so much faster. Like everything is so sped up in the CBA, where that's why you saw him get bought out. That was not a thing that used to happen. Somebody eventually would trade for him and at least take a shot before the season. Normally you would see a buyout on somebody like Ayton, towards the end of the season after he is once again really bad or he gets hurt or something like that. Raj, he's in year 7. He's averaged a double-double for 7 years running. Yeah. He is still plenty athletic, no crazy surgeries in his background, no criminal activity, no controversies that you have to worry about. Like that everything other than motor on and off the court is the question here on this guy. And you've seen a guy within his first big contract go from somebody that the Pacers were willing to completely screw up and hold up their books for multiple days, to somebody who is now available to those same Pacers, and the Pacers are kind of sort of looking at him like, well, it might be good.
Well, he has a lot to thank to the Pacers, because the whole reason he has this current contract, remember how the relationship with the Phoenix Suns pretty much deteriorated, was Phoenix said, we're not going to pay you, but if you go find someone who will, then we'll match it. And Ayton and his team and representatives went out and found Indiana. Indiana sent him a really nice offer sheet, max offer sheet, and Phoenix matched it. And that's the current contract he's on. So there is some relationship there, between the Pacers. But yeah, Ayton's so fun. He's like the rich man's version of Cam Reddish, right? Where like the proof has already been shown, kind of like the shot. Yeah,
I swear, Raj, one of the theories, I will die on this takes hill, that we're talking about a very different career for DeAndre Ayton if Phoenix just pays him after he did everything that he needed to do to help them get to a championship, right? Like because what happened, maybe I'll bring somebody from Phoenix on here, and maybe I'll bring somebody from Portland on here at some point to talk about DeAndre Ayton if it becomes a little bit more real. But with what it seemed to me from an outsider's perspective was that he did those things. He set hard screens. He rolled hard to the basket. He was attentive on defense. He rebounded. He did all of these little things and was an important player on a team that made it to the championship series. And then Phoenix played hardball with him. And somebody who, like you texted me today, right, came into the league saying I'm playing for contracts, which is not ideal. Little Bynum-ish. But somebody who was very financially driven was like, well, that didn't work in terms of getting me the contract that I was looking for. Well, maybe I got to go about it the more traditional way. ISOs with post moves and post isolations and highlight reel blocks and highlight reel dunks that sometimes sell out your teammates that in order to get there. Like I truly believe that Deandre Ayton's career would have gone really, really differently if Phoenix would have just given him his extension and showed him, all right, you play like that and you keep getting these checks. But since then, it's been like, no, you're not getting that check then. You're also not getting it for going about it the wrong way, because obviously he's going about it the wrong way. And he's been in this like on this really bad treadmill of poor development basically ever since. And I kind of sort of feel for the guy. I honestly kind of do.
I think the thing the Lakers have, well, they don't really have a choice here because they're in a desperation mode. But the question is, do they have an ecosystem that really can, survive that, or can change a guy and put him in a place where he's looking around going, if I fuck up, I'm the only one messing up, right? Like if I mess up, I'm the only one that, I'm going to be held accountable by everybody. And so I think that's something that they got to really look at. How serious they are next year. Do they have the infrastructure to do that? When Dwight Howard came here in 2020, right? He was a very much, guy that was being thrown out the league, not for talent, but because he was just an issue everywhere he went, was a problem, reportedly in Atlanta, just had issues with teammates. And he came here and he was a model citizen. Now the Lakers gave him a non-guaranteed deal, so that probably helped within that. I think his deal wasn't guaranteed until December or something like that. Yep. And the Lakers waited pretty long before they decided to guarantee it, as well as he played through that season. But that's the thing with Ayton. And, I was texting you, there's the Bynum comp. I think it's just so funny and so interesting that's come out for him. But yeah, he's a super talented player that you look at the numbers. He's a pick and roll, just monster. If you look at like just NBA has these shot charts, and, like when you're not shooting well, when you don't shoot well from that area, it's red. But if you shoot well, it's green.
Yeah.
He's green from so many places in areas that centers should not be green from. It's like
he's
a 47,
super talented player.
47%.
He went first in the Luka draft.
That's a good point. That is very, very true. Yeah.
You know how good you have to be coming into now. There are some dumb GMs, right?
Yeah, Marvin Bagley went too.
It was Bobby Sarves who was running the Suns back then. You owned the Suns back then. You had Vlade in Sacramento, which obviously also helped too. Atlanta traded Luka, which those people were fired with the quickness eventually too. So there are reasons that he went first in the Luka draft, but still he has like it. He's not like a talent bust. Like who's the kid that Cleveland drafted?
Anthony
first
Bennett is the
Anthony
Bennett.
That guy was a talent bust.
Yes.
That guy just didn't have the talent. Shouldn't have been taken first overall in that pick. You have like Greg Oden type of bust, right? Where
injuries,
his body just didn't hold up. And I know people don't like using the bust word with him, but he was one. Like if part of the thing that you're investing in with these guys is that their body is going to hold up, and his didn't.
Yeah.
And it's especially tough when the other guy is Kevin Durant right after him. And then in this case with Ayton, he's kind of a mental bust, right? Where like he is great. Like he is everything that teams would want from his neck down. And it's just a matter of, can the Lakers get the head, the neck from the shoulders up in where it needs to be.
Well, here's what's so tantalizing about him, Anthony, is that there's guys, and I'm not saying Walker Kessler can't be, right? But Walker Kessler, in my opinion, has not played a game that has mattered yet in his career, right? Like just Utah has been fumbling. They have been tanking at strange times. He's never played in the playoffs. Ayton has real playoff experience. He has finals experience. And the Lakers don't have to look too far because he did against us. I think he was incredible. Obviously, Anthony Davis's injury really clouds over that series, but Ayton was awesome against, people forget this, AD went down. I believe LeBron also went down, but the Lakers had the #1 defense going into that playoffs. They had a bunch of point of attack defenders. You might notice one of the names is Alex Caruso, another name is KCP. They had just an incredible defensive team they were feisty, but Ayton dominated those switches. Chris Paul and Devin Booker did their part, but I thought Ayton was just dominant and did all the stuff that you're talking about that got him, that the Suns asked him to do before he was paid: defense, rebound, screen hard, block shots, protect the rim. So it's not a can he do this? It's can you get him invested in the team to understand the bigger picture, to understand we do well, you do well. From a cynical standpoint, you are going to be on a contract year. I believe I doubt the Lakers or any team would give him more than one season under contract, but and maybe some team throws in an extra year, 1+1.
One of the like, there's some whispers out there that wherever he signs, it might be a 1-and-1 type deal, where it's like
maybe a player option for a lesser amount or whatever it is. But you're not going to find a 26-year-old finals experience starting center this talented. Doesn't exist on the market. It is just not out there for the price that you can get him at, where you don't have to give up a single asset. And that's why I think Ayton has jumped. Everyone's like, why are all Laker fans going after Deandre Ayton? It's not about Deandre Ayton. He just lowered his money from $35 million to $8 million.
Yeah.
He's going to make Max Christie. I love Max Christie, by the way, but he's going to get Max Christie contract next season. To me, that is a huge gift if the Lakers are able to pull that off. And I think that's why the offseason hinges on this. Maybe a LeBron trade request hinges on, like, it is a massive, massive decision that they have to kind of convince him to take less money or wherever, offers he's getting. But Ayton is extremely talented, and I think he's their number one target this offseason.
Yeah, I as far as I can tell, the Lakers are definitely in on him. I called them reluctant favorites on Ayton so far. Some of it is sourced, some of it's connecting the dots, some of it is just kind of looking at the other teams that he could potentially either go to or whatever. What's super interesting on this, Raj, Chris Haynes came out and was adamant. This is done. This is where he's going. I saw Jake Fisher today report that he would be surprised if Ayton isn't a Laker when it's all said and done. Then I saw Dave McMenamin come out and say that he hasn't heard it in the same way. Shams hasn't said anything about it to the best of what I've seen. And I saw Windhorst, I think, also connected the dots after Milwaukee made their move for Miles Turner and said that this probably opened Ayton up to the Lakers as a more distinct possibility. And yeah, like over the course of the day, I would say my confidence probably still remains at like 75-25
So it got higher than the
no, I
told
told you, I think I said it was 70.
You said 60-40.
No, yesterday it was 60-40. Then the Milwaukee thing happened. Now it's 75-25.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. You didn't send me an update. That's what it was.
I thought I did.
That's okay.
All right, I'm going to go through. I'm going to moment of truth here. Oh, I guess I didn't. My bad.
Okay.
My bad.
But that makes you feel 75 is good. That's good.
Oh, we actually never texted after the Milwaukee thing. Now I'm looking at it. My bad.
That's
so
okay.
Raj, I have it about 75-25.
Okay.
You feel better?
Good. I feel a lot better actually. Yeah. And again, I my brain is doing this thing, Anthony, where I'm in one side, I'm like extremely on pins and needles for this, and the other is going DeAndre Ayton. Like it all hinges around this.
Yeah.
But you go through the names, and people are, I think, jokingly telling me Koloko, which like I really think Koloko as a third big is not terrible for your team. But yeah, just you look around and you canvass the league for what's available. Not much after DeAndre Ayton. You get into Goga territory, and all those kind of guys are a little less proven. That you're taking even higher risks on just talent and. Can they play, minutes on a contending type team? So that's why I think Ayton at the price, dollar amount, talent, production, risk, reward, he's the number one option.
I have been wondering what his market actually is. So I think it's kind of worth it to go through some of these potential teams and just run my thinking by you and see where you sit on this.
Okay.
So we'll start with Indiana, who I think most people kind of immediately jumped and said, well, they just lost Turner. They made the previous restricted free agent offer to Ayton, 4 years ago. Maybe now that he's even cheaper, they would be interested again. And I'm not here to say that any of that is incorrect. The part of it that the place that I'm kind of hung up on with Indiana, they aren't going to have their best player all year. He blew his Achilles in the last game of the finals, in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. So he's probably going to, miss at the very least the vast majority of the regular season. And I don't see enough talent on that roster. Now the East really sucks. So maybe they stay in it and they consider themselves play-in teams or play a very low-seeded playoff team because the East is terrible. But to me, what I kind of think, especially after they just let their center walk for nothing, their starting center, who's a much better player than Ayton, walk for nothing, is that I think they're probably going to consider this a pseudo rebuild year, where you see what Nembhard can be as a primary ball handler. You see what the rest of your young kind of core can be on their own without Halliburton. You try to maybe flip a couple of guys for some assets, and then when Halliburton comes back, you try to quickly rebuild your team for a healthy Halliburton season. And I don't think spending $14 million on DeAndre Ayton is a part of that plan.
Yeah. First of all, I think Indiana should have got a lot more crap for just, number one, the offer that they gave to Miles Turner. I believe it was 3 years, $60 million was, I think Jake Fisher reported the number that came out. Tyrese Halliburton, Anthony, is 25. He's going to miss one season. Maybe even, I don't know. I'm guessing he's going to miss the whole next season. But in any case, you were up at half in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. They were up at half, 42-41 or whatever it was. And you let your starting center walk for nothing. I don't know. I thought that got blown over way too quickly. People are kind of mentioning the struggles Miles Turner had in different series. But in any case, I thought he was extremely helpful. People are saying pacer for life, and they just let him walk. I thought they should have got a lot more crap for that. But in the Ayton case, I mean, I guess I can see it now. If you let Turner walk, then why, I guess, go out and get, they could also look at him as a stopgap center, to your point of looking at what Nembhard can be as a pick and roll guard with more touches, and give him a center that's really productive in that way. But I can see your point as well in terms of if they're already rebuilding, and they also, I think, Anthony, have a lot of young centers on the roster, right, that they've drafted. I think Isaiah Jackson's one of those guys that they can get a deeper look at as well, instead of going out and getting Ayton 4 years after they gave him the offer sheet. So it'll be interesting to see if they're a part of it. They've also screwed the Lakers once already, and I think they take great joy in that.
Yeah,
yes,
that's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Bruce Brown was set, I believe, from all the reporting after the fact and during that. The
Lakers thought they had Brown.
Yeah, and then they went and threw him a $22 million per year deal to go sign with them, which they
got them Siakam.
Yeah, they flipped into Siakam, so they were 100% correct in that. But I don't think I think they took joy in that, and I can see them taking joy in this as well. But hopefully, again, I'm hopeful that they pass on Ayton. But that is, to me, a possibility. They lost their starting center, can go get one for a lot cheaper, be a stopgap, get him for 1 year, and then reset next year with Halliburton back healthy.
Yeah, I mean, the pettiness angle was one that I hadn't weighed. That Nope, we're back to 60-40, Raj. Look at that. You brought me back down.
Sure.
But no, I don't know. I actually wasn't as angry at them letting Turner walk and getting under the luxury tax in a year that you aren't going to have Halliburton anyway. Like, if Hallie was healthy and they did that, Absolutely. I would have a lot to say about
He's
ownership.
25, Anthony. He's 25. He's
Yeah,
gonna
but
come
like
back fine
I,
from this.
I
100% fine.
he will. But it's like, I don't know. It may be in the time between now and when he is fine, when he is actually fine. Now, where I think they erred was not trying to find a way to get something for Turner. Like, if you're going to lose him after all of these years of him being on the trade block, he now leaves via free agency. That's kind of funny. But
After
like,
their
if
best year. After their
yeah,
best year, he
right,
leaves. And his
yeah,
best season too. Just
yeah.
he walks
So
out.
like, you know, I understand why people are connecting that dots. I'm not telling you or anybody who feels that way that you're wrong. I just personally, look, man, a blown Achilles is a blown Achilles, and it's a year-long injury that sometimes guys aren't fully back from for 2 years, right? Kobe never recovered. Now he was much older. KD, I don't think has been the same athlete that he was pre-Achilles. Again, older, but yeah, I don't know. I kind of understand Indiana. And maybe this is confirmation bias, because if they feel this way, that gives the Lakers a better chance of getting Ayton. But I kind of understand Indiana saying we aren't going to be very good. The whole reason that we were even, we had any success at all these last couple of years, he is not going to be back for a full season. And even then, he'll be getting his legs back under him when he does return. Let's just see what we can further supplement him with. I don't know if I even want Miles Turner at 20. What did he get? 25, 26? I don't even
think
know if I want that. Like, I don't know if I want Miles Turner for that amount of money.
I think
You
that's
know?
I think that's a fine number for Miles Turner, especially where the cap is going, the way that it's raising. They got him for a 4-year deal, 3+1, so he has a player option at the end of it. I guess, not to go long on Turner, but it would be different to me if it was just a purely talent thing, but the reasoning was ducking the luxury tax, which really has no inherent roster building advantage other than saving the owners money. So that's where, just if I'm an Indiana fan and I'm looking at that, I'd be extremely disappointed. This Turner was a monster. I put a lot of credence into playoff performance, and Turner showed a level of toughness, a level of being able to rot
until the final. He wasn't very good in the finals.
I mean, he was playing a team that won 68 games. That was a really darn good team.
But if you're keeping him to maintain your finals chances, and the guy just sucked in the finals, then like, I think it's fair to consider that a part of it too. Yeah, you don't want to overreact, right? Like, I don't think you want to overreact to one series when he had multiple good ones before then.
That's fair. Yeah, I disagree with them letting him walk, but I could see the rationale if it was purely a basketball decision. But it being mostly from a luxury tax standpoint, I feel like
you want my tinfoil hat theory?
Go ahead.
I think they let him walk so that Milwaukee could screw up their books for the next 5 years. They're going to have $22.5 million in dead cap money. And I don't think it's like, I think it's cool that Milwaukee is doing everything that they possibly can to make it known to Giannis that we still believe in you. We want to keep you here. We want you to retire here. We are willing to do whatever it takes to keep you here on, and stuff. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
But also $22.5 million of dead salary on your books for the next 5 years to sign Miles Turner to a $25 million contract. That's $50 million of Miles Turner moving forward. And I don't know that I'd be all that comfortable with that. I wasn't sure about $25 million, but if you're screwing up your cap to the tune of like $47.5 million, whatever it is, that's kind of nuts.
We were talking about the Ayton giving up, that much money. That's kind of a rarity in the past. Damian Lillard, 2 years, $110 million being waived and stretched. That is unprecedented. Yeah, that is just an insane decision to come up with. But again, they must feel Giannis's, breath right on their neck. I mean, this is the type of this breeds desperation. That's the way it feels to me. So we just see how Milwaukee goes through that. But I guess their thinking is, if Giannis leaves, then none of this really matters. We will eat that money and we'll just be bad. And but this is worth it to get Giannis to continue to extend, which credit to them. Every time Giannis even blinks, they get to work. So I definitely I respect it.
Giannis is like a college football coach who, like, every time another job opens up is like, yeah, I could see myself coaching at UCLA, and then they get a new contract.
Oh
They
yeah,
get this
they
giant
just
new
tease it.
contract.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead, and before we go to the starred comments that we got over the course of the conversation, let's let you talk about Jake Laravia. Let's let you talk about Adu Thiero. I don't know why I always kind of pause on his name, Adu Thiero.
Yeah.
Who do you want to talk about first?
We can start with Laravia. I wrote about him. I have a piece about him coming out tomorrow morning. But Anthony, he to me plays the way we want Rui to play. Like, so we've been really trying to make these power forwards into small forwards, right? And I think we've been doing this since the Kuzma days. Like, Kuz to me at his best is probably a 4, but we've really trying to masquerade him as a 3. Laravia moves and has the smoothness of a 3 and just the way he shoots. And I, tweeted out his shot chart today. That dude does not color outside the lines. It is inside the paint and 3-pointers. Has no confusion with what he is, doesn't try to do anything fancy. You'll never see him do a 3-dribble step back fadeaway. It is all just incredibly straight line in terms of how he contributes. But that dude is an awesome shooter, 43% last year. He's a really great relocation shooter. He can shoot off the move, which is something we've been looking for forever. Not a great athlete, but can use his size and his strength to kind of get to the rim, attack closeouts very well. Just like if you were going to build the modern player, like the archetype, I feel like he kind of fits in that. And I like it a lot at the $6 million mark that they got him at, for 2 years. But reminds me of, like, he reminds me of Kuz with a little better jump shot and just more flow on the offensive end as a movement shooter. I'm excited for him. It's obviously same agent as Austin. And so, we got both of them on this team, but I like Laravia a lot. We'll see what he is next season. All of his stuff was like low volume, and he was traded mid-season to the Kings. So, tough to kind of assess a lot of what they were doing in the second half of the season when they had the Levine trade. But Laravia is fun. Knockdown shooter, exactly what you're looking for. I did not expect him to be the only move 48 hours in to free agency, but I've watched every Laravia field goal over the last, he's only been in the league 3 years, so it didn't take long. But yeah, Laravia is a really fun prospect and a guy that I think the Lakers are betting on. If you give him more minutes, his production, will increase. Smart defender too. One of the best wing defenders that we've had, in a while. But what do you like about him?
Well, I like the shooting, 100%, right? And I like you mentioned how he does things that the Lakers have kind of wished that Rui would do.
Yeah.
Namely, quick catch and shoot guy, gets the ball through the shooting pocket really quickly. Nice high release at 6'8", which is really nice. Quick decision maker is also nice, right? He doesn't, like you said, he doesn't overcomplicate things. Good feel for space and whether or not he is open or how his defender is closing out at him. I like a lot of that stuff. And to me, like, I swear I'm not trying to be overly, critical here. I swear. But it's another 3/4, and that's a position that the Lakers have, like, came into the, like when Dorian walked, I was like, okay, cool, fine. Like, that sucks to lose him that way, but let's get a 2/3 type player in, using that non-taxpayer mid-level exception to balance out. Like, ideally it would have been Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Now he just got a lot more than the non-taxpayer mid-level exception, but, like, somebody like that, whether it's trading into that exception or whatever, filling that need a little bit more, because I just don't think you had a need, unless the plan is to move Rui, unless the plan is to, and look, if we have accompanying moves here where they do open up minutes for Laravia, then I have no gripe. I really don't. But I do have some questions about the athleticism and, thus the physicality in the postseason, because we just saw how physical the playoffs get as well. We'll see how he handles that. But I think in a vacuum, it's a good signing. He's a good young player. There's a lot to like about his game. The problem with building a team is that those decisions aren't made in a vacuum, and
Sure.
they have to be pieced together with a steady direction. And this, I don't outside of the shooting, I don't really see the need that the pressing need that this fills.
Well, to me, what he feels is, so he reminds me of a lot like Austin 3 years ago before he, took the leap that he did. He was really in that connector role where he was the one that, when advantage was created, he extended it because he knew how to attack closeouts. His decision-making was instant. The ball never stuck with him. And that's kind of where I see Laravia. And to me, he's more of a 3 pushing into 2 rather than a guy you can throw really as a 4. I know he's 6'7", but doesn't have a great wingspan, is strong, but not a guy I think you want really as a rim protector. Very low blocks last season. I think he had 20 blocks in 66 games. So you're not really getting a ton in terms of that rim protection, but he's a really nice team defender, really good on help and team defense, understands has really good spatial awareness, good back pressure, stuff like that. That's really more perimeter oriented. That's kind of where I see him. But I see your concerns. It's still a forward. So on a team with a lot of forwards, but you just lost a very good forward as well. You could say Dorian's in the center kind of group as well, but I think Dorian's more of a forward that goes up. So you just lost one of those, so you had to refill that. I like it a lot again at the price, and I just think he's going to outkick that contract pretty far. I mean, $6 million for a player that as efficient as he is, even as the low volume he was, I just trust that he'll be a contributor in that way. It's it's an awesome first signing. I think it's a smart, good bet. You got to fill the team out. And again, I'm just shocked that's the only signing we made, but I like Laravia a lot. There's some
trade. It's the only thing that they have done. They drafted Thiero and they signed Laravia. And by the way, Thiero also a forward. So so it's like I don't know. I think he's more of a wing than he is a forward. He's just an athlete. So I don't have as many concerns with that overlap. But if we wake up tomorrow or whatever, and the Lakers trade Rui for a starting center and have a more pressing need for Rui's minutes to go to Laravia, then okay. Yeah. Then I would sit here and be like, all right, that made sense, because that was all part of a concerted effort to balance out the roster and make it make a little bit more sense. As it stands right now, it's a fine. I'll call it fine. It's a fine signing, good player, good young player. There's a lot to like, but in terms of like it being the only thing that they've accomplished in 2 days of free agency, makes it fine for me.
Yeah, I guess I'm going into that with the assumption that we're going to get some center at some point that's starting caliber. That was kind of the bar of the offseason that they need to go over. They haven't reached over it yet. But real quickly on Thiero, because I think free agency has kind of lost a lot of the buzz that was created at the draft for him. Anthony, he's already the most athletic player on the roster. And I guess you could say LeBron at 41 years old, this dude's in a 1% athlete, and the level of defensive.
I think he's clearly more athletic than LeBron.
Okay, yeah,
at 41.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like
That's
prime
the bar
LeBron.
That right.
No, I wouldn't go that far. But
prime LeBron, there's a canyon gap before anyone gets there. But no, Thiero is he's a player that I think we haven't a archetype that we haven't had in a very, very long time. He is a defensive monster. Like that is a specialty that I think he can really get into. His recovery on defense is absurd, very raw offensively. Everything is a dunk, right? And even his layups, these type of players, Anthony, where even layups, they try to dunk. It's a weird, they're like, really...
I prefer that, honestly.
It's more exciting
to do. Like I've watched Jared Vanderbilt try to learn how to make a layup, and I'd rather you just dunk it, Vando. I'm sick of watching Jared Vanderbilt try to make a layup with his right hand. Just dunk it. Just try to dunk it, and at the worst, get fouled. Because that's the thing with somebody like Thiero, is that like his dunk attempts. Stu Lantz says this all the he's been saying it my entire life, where it's like, had that guy, what's his cliche? Had he tried to lay that up, he wouldn't be at the line right now.
100%. Thiero also 6.5 free throws a game. Very like that's something that's translatable to the next league. Just a monster when he gets a monster for a step. And I think he was doing reverse dunks in half court settings. When was the last time we seen a reverse dunk by a wing? Yeah, obviously you can say LeBron maybe, but just from the 3-point line to the rim in a half court setting, he has guys leaning on him and he's still dunking right through him. Just a nuclear type athlete. And again, the jumper has to come in some capacity. Has been very low volume, just has not shot it well or much. And he has to kind of get better with his finishing at the basket. But I think he's going to contribute right away defensively. I'm hoping JJ trusts the mistakes that he's going to make to kind of gain fruit of the longer process. But that's an exciting young player. And I'm glad the Lakers were able to pay two teams to just go up and get this guy, because I'm excited about his future. But Thiero and Laravia is the new players that we have to look, and the undrafted guys for sure that I'll dive into. But
need more.
Yes, give me a few more, just a couple more. A minimum signing, I'll take it. If there's a minimum, we go on sign. I think Gary Trent signed for pretty much the minimum. Gary Harris signed for a very lower contract than I thought he would, like 2 years, minimum. 12.
Oh, Gary Harris went for 212. I didn't see what the actual number was.
Yeah, I think it was 212 or something, 211 maybe even, or something like that. It was very affordable.
Maybe for the biannual then? Did he go? Yeah. No, he can't be. Is Milwaukee able to give biannuals? I wonder how they even got there. Well,
no clue.
Having $20-something million in dead cap hopefully opens your books a little bit, being open to that. All right, let's really quickly get through some of the starred comments and then send y'all on your happy way. But before that, let's go ahead and play. Oh my God, I can't even do that clip anymore. Have you seen Luka recently?
Oh, he is. I don't try to weight watch in July because it's tough because there's months left before the training camp begins. But he does look in great shape. Looks in awesome shape.
All right, so I guess I gotta play this one instead. Darn. All right, Ryan Lucas kicked us off with the fact that Lopez was their main center hope is crazy. I think so. Coming into the offseason, if I would have predicted how it was going to go, I would have expected Dorian to resign, and then you only have your taxpayer mid-level at your disposal. And Lopez at the taxpayer mid-level is objectively good value, right? And then from there, I would have expected the Lakers to go out and trade for their starting center, and that would have been kind of the offseason as I kind of saw it. But yeah, what I found weird, Raj, let me know if you saw this, but the report that the Lakers pivoted from Brook Lopez to switchy athletic bigs.
Yeah.
What does that even mean? Hold on.
Yeah.
One, where do you find those in free agency now? Obviously, if you're gonna get that kind of a big, you're trading for him. So why were those two things mutually exclusive? It just
didn't make sense. I'm transparency. I was not a fan of the Lopez signing. In terms of going after that type of player. 37 years old, a lot of miles on him, already slowing down. Could be good in a backup role. Again, I think $9 million is not a bad option for Lopez. But when I heard switchy young big, that is a very narrow road. That is
Claxton.
That's Nick Claxton. That's Nick Claxton, and that's it. Unless you think Ayton's switchable. Dave kind of mentioned that Ayton is maybe in that group of the description he was laying out.
Athletic, but he's not switchy.
No, when he wants to be, that's the problem with Ayton. When he wants to be, That dude is a monster. I've seen him, switch on to Giannis and have success. But yeah, Nick Claxton's really the name that comes up there. I thought that was strange. But good luck to Lopez with the Clippers. I just did not want another player over the age of 37. I think that position, Anthony, needs to be a place where you're young and you're athletic
and you build with Luka.
Yes. So, I mean, if you don't build with Luka, be athletic, have motor.
That's what I mean. Is that like you build your relationship with
Yes.
Luka, like somebody who is seen as, side by side talent with Luka.
Mm-hmm.
R. Jones 813 LAL writes, is McTen's report LA is trying to give Ayton the minimum? I honestly could see it. Like, I don't think Ayton is going to. Here's what all right, let me clarify. Or this gets aggregated or clipped or anything to get me. My mentions are finally in a decent place because Lowe like confirmed that thing that like I don't want to mess with it too much. But what I'll say is, and this shouldn't be all that surprising, the Lakers would prefer to have Ayton on the minimum. Everybody would prefer to have Ayton on the minimum. Because then it is just a shot in the dark and you could just waive him at any point in the season. And it's not like a whole bunch of any dead money basically on your cap. And you can just kind of move on. If his head isn't on right, his head isn't on right. I'm not going to go so far as to say that like, I think it'll happen because there are other teams potentially interested, but Raj, I was pretty surprised, and other people that I was talking to, we're pretty surprised at how little everybody seemed to care that Ayton was on the market, as a buyout candidate. Like I was really surprised at, all right. An example, there was a reporting out there, I think also from McMenamin or Windhorst, one of the two, that when LeBron, when Rich Paul said the things that he said, that immediately a few teams called and were like, what did that mean?
Mm-hmm.
And another example is the reporting surrounding Damian Lillard right now, right? That he has been, that he might be available potentially at the minimum to some player because he's fully paid. He had all kinds of teams calling him, even though he's on the other side of 36, right? And he has his Achilles recovery ahead of him. It doesn't sound like there was that kind of knee-jerk, oh, we got to get him with Ayton. And that kind of surprised me a little bit. And again, I would anticipate that he signs, like if he signs with the Lakers, I think it'll probably be in the ballpark of like 2 years, $17 million or $17.5 million, with the second year being a player option. Like, I don't think he's getting the minimum anymore, but if he did, the fact that it was like if it happened and it was something that I was kind of thinking had bouncing around in the back of my mind, that would be pretty insane. That would be insane. But I don't think the Lakers realistically believe that they can give Ayton the minimum.
No, you can't. I mean, it's just how anything in life works. But especially in this situation, if you have multiple suitors, then obviously the price goes up, right? And that's the reporting, at least, that Ayton has a few different options to choose from, which makes sense. And I guess he's going to choose the option that he's going to get the most minutes, I'm sure, on the more contending team that he believes, and all that, is going to go into account for his decision. But yeah, on the minimum, I don't see it. But $8 million, that is a steal for DeAndre Ayton. That is, if that was his contract in Portland, he would have been traded a long time ago. Yeah, someone would have gave stuff up for him. So if you can get him for that number, again, it's not finalized. I'm hoping, the reporting is that the Lakers at least have a very good chance. You spoke earlier, Chris Haynes is pretty adamant going on, and he shut down the Milwaukee stuff very quickly, which he must have got word about, in terms of
possibly with Turner.
Yeah. So but Indiana is still out there, and again, they take joy in the Lakers' demise, I believe. Never spoke to someone there, but I'm assuming we took away one of their championships, as did OKC. But it's just, to me, Anthony, it's sad that all this hinges on a player that
has a lot of questions. Like a lot of questions about him.
Yes, the articles are not fun to read. Harrison has fun posting them, but they are not fun to read through at all. The screenshots and the inside information. I have some grace because I think some stuff probably gets taken a little bit out, but
what was weird was that like over the last year, Raj, when he was somebody that the Blazers were trying to trade, you talk to like people who were close to that situation, and there's a lot of like, oh no, he means well, he's a nice guy, he's this, he's that. But now it's like they cut him because he couldn't be near his young guy. They're young guys. It's like, damn. All right. And look, like practice, like the actions speak a hell of a lot louder than words, and them actually cutting him rather than just keeping him there as an extra body in case like Klingin goes down or Young goes down or something like that. Their bodies aren't quite ready for the NBA. That's interesting, but because like they didn't cut Time Lord, they still think they can trade Time Lord, and
they probably can. He's at a lesser number too. He's at like 12 million, so it's probably easier to get a salary. But I'm talking about the stories, Anthony.
Oh my God, this is such a great point, Raj. Kirk saying he missed a game because of snow.
That's what I was about to bring up.
When I tweeted that, like Blazers people were like, "You don't get it. You don't get it. It happens all the time." I'm like, I've never seen this before with a player who plays for the Blazers. Never seen it.
Right. And so that type of stuff to me is interesting. And I think that really just feeds on the, he does not care, is not interested, is not motivated. And that's the stuff that it's tough to gauge. But again, when you're in this position and you're as desperate as the Lakers are, you got to run with it. And they were desperate when they got Dwight in 2020. They needed a backup center, a physical center. And they're desperate now. They need a starting center, caliber center. That was the really, like, I think if you poll Laker fans, what did you need this summer? It was really a starting caliber center. Like, I feel like everything else.
Our bar. We were like,
no.
We lied a bar down on the ground.
And just walk right over that. That was really it. Like everything else was kind of
still waiting.
Extra. Yeah. Well,
last one here. Ryan Lucas. Gambo says AR and LBJ didn't like playing with Luka. I haven't seen that. While we've been talking, I searched Gambo's Twitter out and haven't seen it anywhere.
It's been clipped around. I haven't listened to the audio, but I guess there is evidence that's put up. I haven't heard anything I have not heard anything of that to the nature at all. That has not been anything that's been reported, I don't think, around this area.
I haven't heard anything about that. And look, y'all know I am willing to say incriminating stuff if I have it well founded. I haven't heard that at all. I haven't, I have a good relationship with people close to Reeves. I have like Clutch is really easy to reach out to, or people close to LeBron. Like LeBron, all right, think of it this way, Raj. This is the kind of story that if it was true, ESPN would be all over. This would lead ESPN for a month. And I just, unless there's proper sourcing on it. Now, look, I'm not saying that it definitely isn't true. We don't all talk to the same people, but I have never heard anything close to this.
Yeah, I'm not trying to correct Ryan here, and I haven't listened to it, but I believe the main report was LeBron doesn't like playing with Luka, and it was kind of an ode to LeBron might leave. So that's kind of where the story was going. But I haven't listened to Gambo. Gambo is very knowledgeable, at least in the Phoenix.
Yeah, very, very plugged in.
Yeah.
What I'll say about LeBron specifically is he has lived his entire basketball life as the center of the universe for every team he has played on, dating back to forever. And what wouldn't surprise me is if there was some growing pains in terms like organizationally, where like those quotes that we got from Rich Paul, I think that has a lot to do with this notion of like, this is weird. I've never, Ramona Shelburne said the other day that LeBron isn't being
prioritized,
consulted right on the moves that the Lakers are. I can't confirm or deny that, but the fact that even that is out there, right? That's probably it's taken some getting used to. Even if LeBron is being consulted, it's like we said, however long ago, right? Where I said, if Luka told the Lakers to trade LeBron, LeBron is gone. If LeBron told the Lakers to trade Luka, LeBron is gone. Like that's how this organization is operating now. And hell, like LeBron even opting in would indicate that the Lakers were getting ready to play hardball with him. And he and Clutch didn't think that he was going to get the contract that he thought he wanted, or that he didn't think he would get a contract situation as good as the one he was opting into. So he opted in. So that stuff, like him potentially leaving and all that stuff, I saw that was also floating out there. That I don't doubt at all. But the idea that LeBron didn't like playing basketball with Luka, I don't know. He seemed to really kind of revel in the Draymond stuff.
Yeah, I don't want to go long. We're at the end and bring any thing we have to go long on, but I do think no transition of power is smooth unless it's a retirement. To me, in my opinion, unless it's a retirement, no transition of power, even if it's passing the baton. Like LeBron is so good, he doesn't need to pass it off. Like he can hold it and continue running for miles.
He had a better season last year than Luka. He did. He was more available. He played more games, like just flat out. I'm not saying when the two of them are healthy, he is better than Luka. I'm saying that he had a better year last year than Luka did. And he's probably looking at the Lakers like, what did that get me?
Yeah, me and him are in the same boat still. Yeah, I'd love to know how the Lakers felt about spoke about this on Lakers Detailed, but in terms of how they felt about the future term by Rich Paul putting the word future in the first sentence there.
Yeah.
To me, you can cut off the rest of that. I know they have respect for Jeannie Buss and all in the relationship, but to me, that whole thing was the first sentence. The Lakers are committed to the future. That's loud. That speaks volumes.
No, Luka's 26. He's in his prime.
Right. Yeah. I thought that was fascinating. It's something LeBron hasn't done, Anthony. Whenever he's been spoken about leaving LA, he's shut that down emphatically. And that was the first time they've given some indication where we might look elsewhere.
Yeah. All right. We are going to go ahead and hop off here. I will take this down and chop it up and put it back up on the RSS feed if you guys missed any of it in its segmented form. It'll obviously remain on YouTube. So if you want to go back and check out any of it, feel free to do so. Just please hit that like button whenever you do. And please hit that subscribe button. A lot of new people checking out this channel and our content here. And I really appreciate it. Just go ahead and hit those nice buttons for us. And we'll keep this thing growing in the way that it has. And yeah, until the next time you guys hear from us, I'm Anthony Irwin saying have a great rest of your night. Make somebody else's. Thank you very much to Raj Japalu. Check out both of his pieces, the Laravia one and the Thiero one that will be up, I believe, tomorrow. We'll talk to you when we talk to you.